I think we're just going to look for continuation, right? Because it's pointless to look for pullback. I mean, well, pullbacks is what I'm looking for a day trade. But I think continuation is where we're going to go. It's pointless to say, oh, AMD is going to turn into a head and shoulders or anything else at this point. I mean, the only thing that I can see is that it's a little bit extended, and that's about it. But there's not much extended. Just because something's extended isn't a good reason to go short on something. So yeah, for today, I think I'm just looking for dip buys and continuation. I think a high of 151 is definitely foresightable. We can definitely get to it. So there's AMD. Amazon is kind of interesting if we take this guy out, but it's in this chop. And I don't know if we're going to take this guy out. I would think that today might be a day we kind of sort of pull back. Actually, let's look at the Qs real quick. Earlier, they were down a little bit more. But yes, pretty big day on the Qs. I think all of this is just a retest still, and we can continue higher. I'm not afraid to play it bullish or bearish today. This isn't a gap that makes you want to go, oh, we definitely want to pick a side today. It's just not that great of gap. It's midway, still could be a retest, still could S-curve to the bull side. So, and I'm open to playing it bullish also. Foresightable, what is foresightable when? Tesla is still in this interesting loop, but Tesla is not as strong as we thought some of the other, like obviously it doesn't look like Nvidia, right? It looks a little bit different than some of the stronger tickers. Like it doesn't look like Netflix. It is weak. There is weakness. There are no more, big gap ups and gap downs. I think it's just chilling. It's just accumulating, and it needs to have these days for it to give us these big, massive days afterwards, right? So I'm not complaining. It'd be really interesting to see what happens if we take 235 out today or 236 level out today. Let's set alerts. Do we do that? I don't know. And if we do, then I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens next. Yeah, it's just jammed up between moving averages. All right, we have the YouTube link. Thank you, Dan. Sorry, YouTube land. I was having some trouble getting online earlier. All right, we looked at Netflix. Let's look at LVS. Okay. Still just a little tiny pullback. I would say a retest, not a damaging gap down for sure. Looks great. I think good for continuation. That's what I would aim for. I would not be shorting this thing. I think it's in a good bullish trend. Let's just aim for continuation. Price target to 55. Okay. So yeah, good news. I think it just continues higher. Look for dip buying at the beginning and then see if we can continue higher. For YouTube, we looked at Netflix earlier, but I like where this is headed, especially if we take this guy out. I think a continuation to the downside would be really interesting to see what happens. But otherwise, it's in a bullish trend and it can continue higher. So it can have an NVIDIA moment. I have an alert set at 473. Let's see what happens at that level. Let's see if we take it out right at open. And if we do, then I think some bear plays could be really fun. But other than that, nothing super crazy on this guy. Nothing that just makes me want to go, oh, this is an excellent gap. We really need to be trading it. You know what is an excellent gap that we did talk about is Boeing. I like this a lot for continuation to the downside. So let's see what happens on Boeing right at open. I think this is number one ticker on my list. I want to short this guy right at open. So that's what the plan is. Win says Tesla is 100 weekly is at 243. Yeah, Tesla's in between all of these moving averages, right? Like lots of moving averages. On the daily also, I'm sure we have something. Yeah. Which is why I kind of sort of don't like trading it lately. But yes, great place to buy it for a long-term hold. For a day trade, not really that great of a location. So we'll come back to it. Again, we say all these things, but we always circle back to Tesla. So I always come back and look at it at least once or twice in the day. Apple, not a big gap, but it's not very decisive in which way it wants to go either. I think the next couple of days are going to be telltelling. Like we're really going to know which way it goes, right? This could just be a retest of this double bottom, and we continue higher, or we go up a little bit more and continue back down. Let's see. If I had to guess, I say one more move down and then continue higher. But as far as a day trade's concerned, nothing super crazy. Let's look at Meta. Give me any other tickers that you guys want to look at also. It's just a non-gappy day, guys. There's just not enough gaps anywhere. CELH. Okay, let's look at those. Meta also, I could see a slight pullback, but I say we break out and go higher. Celsius Holdings. It's trying. Definitely worth a shot. I mean, I would like it if it broke out of this pennant. And made a decisive move in one direction. Especially with like a gap, that would be really nice. But for now, just keep an eye out for this guy. Nothing that makes me want to go, okay, this is a gap I want to watch. For now. Okay, let's look at Southwest. ACI. Okay. Oh, this is a pretty cute gap and go. I kind of like this one a little bit. This, we'll try to short it right at open if there is a setup. On the 1 minute chart, let me add this to the list. Just so I know to come back to it. Yeah, this, I think, good for a pullback. Let's see if we can pull back, that is. Lately, gap and goes haven't been going, right? So I'm also aware of that. Somebody else gave me another ticker, ACI. Let's check that out. Pretty decent gap up. Oh, it's Albertsons. Okay. I'm like, what do they do? Okay, cool. So this is not a gap, I think that would pull back, if you know what I mean. Like I think bears would just get out right at open. And I would honestly play this bullish only. But just in case it wants to pull back, just be cautious right at open. I think, again, watch the 1 minute for that S curve to the bull side, right? So wait for that one red candle and go long above that. That's the only way I would play this. But a pretty decent gap. I like this one too. I think we can play this to the bullish side. at least up to 24.40. That might be a little bit too much of an overachievement because their candles don't seem to get that big, but looks good for continuation. Let's look at Crocs. I have not looked at Crocs since their big inverse head and shoulders. It's looking good. I think long is the way to go on this guy. This is a pretty good gap, yeah. I would play it long. Long is the only way to go on this guy too. Failed inverse head and shoulders. I think an easy ride up to 110, 111 is definitely, I could definitely see that. So for today, I would wait for a little bit of a dip buy and then continue higher. So I think that's the only way I would play it. But I would, it would be a really interesting gap if it was like a gapping down to this way, to this level, or if it was gapping up to this level. It's just these gaps don't really give you which way they're gonna go, right? So I just it's not very clear indication. So today might just be a patient kind of day, and see which way the markets decide to go, the broader markets decide to go. Let's look at the futures. So the futures look like they're ready to make a turnaround, right? And it's okay if they are, but I think that would be really devastating for all the bulls yesterday. We just had a really big momentum yesterday. So I would hope that we come down to maybe 16,600, and then turn around. So I'm hoping for something like this today. And if we can get that, I think we'll continue higher. But if we take this guy out, especially in the near future, like today, tomorrow, I think it's going to be trouble in paradise. We would want to be buying puts. This is, yeah. So the futures are kind of sort of tricky at this point. I'm just waiting to see what happens at these levels and seeing if we get those S curves to the bull side or the bear side. And I think today might be an interesting day to be day trading towards the end. So from noon onwards. But we'll still give it a shot. We have no data coming out that might hinder with our trading today. I think we just have, I think it's the 30-year auction at 10:30, and that's about it. Airbnb, let's look at that. Crocs made a $4 billion gap yesterday. What? Let's look at Airbnb. You guys trade Airbnb a lot. This too, I think, same exact thing. It could just be pulling back right now, right? And then continues higher. Or we're S-curving down to the downside. The only thing is I don't know which way we're going. And today is just one of those decision kind of days. Today and tomorrow might be just one of those decision kind of days where we don't know. See, like it was S-curving here. And all of these days, nobody knew what was going on. But like with this day, everybody knew we continue higher, right? And so today is just not one of those days that's giving us this. It's actually giving us this. So we're going to have to be patient and see which way the markets shift wins. Let's look at Sun. Ooh, this is pretty decent. No trades pre-market. But if it, I mean, it says no trades pre-market, which is kind of odd, but if it opens here, I like this a lot for bearish continuation down to 55, 56 level. Let's see if we can hit that today. I really like this. I'm gonna add this to the list of things we watched today. Um, yeah, definitely a sweet gap. Let's look at Adobe for YouTube land. Adobe is interesting. It's not a gap that would make me go, oh, whoa, this is interesting, like some, but this is definitely interesting. I think bullish if we continue higher, bearish if we roll over. I would have to lean a little bit more towards the bear side, but I don't think we're going to get our bear trade today. I think it would almost just be too easy, like handed to us on a platter. So I don't know if that's going to play out. Today might just be an inside kind of day on Adobe, unless it's moving due to news, but I don't think it is. So 20 billion Figma acquisition. No, no. I think so far Boeing has to be my favorite, and then we added a couple other ones that I like. But this guy definitely short it right it open, look for a short. And if nothing sets up short, then it's okay to look for longs too, but I think short is the way to go. This chart pattern, we've been here time and time again, and it's led to the downside, right? So it's almost like going long on this day. It's very different, but I'm just trying to find you something similar. Like that's the day you would only go long. We've been here time and time again. So let's look to go short this thing. Um, Southwest also, let's go look to short this thing. And then let's look at futures. Let's look at some frames, some purple lines. So to the downside, this is something I'm watching for sure. To the upside, I think we break out at this level and we can, and again, if we're looking at just this double bottom on the cues, this could still just be a retest of that double bottom, right? So it's not like we're calling the end of the world or Armageddon, or it's still just a healthy retest that could turn around and go higher. So, these are the levels I'm watching very closely today. And once we come in here, we'll know decisively whether we go long or short. Now, once we stop respecting these levels, and let's say we do something like this, then this is where a lot of money is to be made with puts, with futures, with just, day trades. So I mean, we know that the day is coming or that time is coming. It's just not right now. We have to be patient for it. All right, YouTube land. Let's see if we can get to any PDD. Let's look at that. NVIDIA. This is kind of looking cool for a continuation to the downside. I would set an alert here. Um, so it's an alert on this trend line crossing down. I think if we open with a gap, if we opened with a gap down today, it would have been really devastating for some of these bulls and they would want to get out. So I think that's what I would be watching for, see if we take this candle out. If we do, I think we can continue down quite a bit. So I like this ticker too. Let's add it to the list. Um, Pinduoduo. Okay. Let's look at, you guys had one more ticker, NVIDIA. We've looked at NVIDIA, but nothing that I would short today on NVIDIA. I think a pullback is due for sure. We're gonna have a retest. I mean, we had like a, $60 million candle yesterday. It's a pretty big candle, but I don't think today is the day, or you don't want to be calling the tops on this. So, if you were in NVIDIA long, let's say from here, from 400, 460, whatever. Today is not the day you're going to sell out of your position, right? You're going to wait for a small pullback, you're going to wait for recovery, and you're going to continue to hold. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to get a small pullback, which is not something what we want to play. We want to play the long in this. So that's just what my 2 cents are. All right, guys, YouTube, it's time for me to say goodbye to you guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with me.